Boa tarde, boa tarde, boa tarde. Espero que você tenha um ótimo dia. What's going on, everybody? This is your man, Larry, the American Brazilian. Listen, I know I've been gone a while. Of course, I focus on life. I focus on my family. And of course, making videos are cathartic. It's something that I do when opportunity presents itself. I should do it more often, but I've been kind of doing a whole lot. Nothing more, I'm sure, than anyone else, but I try to take care of my responsibilities and do this when opportunity presents itself. If it's something that I think that is relevant to me, to Brazil, to dating in Brazil, to possibly relocating or moving to Brazil, then of course I try to share those things with you. Today though, I want to talk about masculine energy and I want to talk about female energy. And I had a thought, and this is why I'm sharing it. And I just left the gym, so I'm kind of, anyway. Masculine energy and female energy. A man is hardwired to operate in logic, right? So when a man is operating in logic, that's kind of his superpower. He doesn't necessarily have to fight and to strive and to struggle for certain things when he's operating in logic because he's operating in the lane in which he was designed to operate in. So things kind of move along pretty smooth. Not saying that life doesn't life, not saying that obstacles aren't there that needs to be crossed or barriers aren't there that need to be broken. But for the most part, it's pretty in tune with how he was hardwired, so things aren't super difficult in the process of him getting from point A to point B. When a woman operates, and again, logic is the superpower of a man. Femininity or emotionalism or being emotional is the superpower of a woman, right? Femininity, let's just say it that way. So when a woman is being feminine, they're operating in their superpower. So there are just certain things that they don't necessarily, again, same thing. There are certain obstacles, barriers, and things that they have to deal with that aren't completely insurmountable. As long as they're operating in that lane, things pretty much go smoothly, and they can cross those obstacles, break those barriers, and as long as they stay in their lane. Now, of course, there comes a time where a man, unfortunately, if he allows himself, can veer over into femininity. And what happens then? Or veer into emotionalism. And what happens then is he operates based on what he feels, which is not in his lane. He stepped into the lane of a woman. The outcome of that, and we see this a lot with our younger generation, they get angry, and instead of yielding to logic and thinking, they just completely react, which is predominantly how women respond. They act. They're based on how they feel. And when men do this, because there's always something Kevin Samuels used to always say, there's a low-level threat of violence with men, they typically find themselves in a very bad situation. They're either, there's a physical altercation, someone goes to jail, or unfortunately, someone's either unalived or they themselves will be unalived. What happens when a woman operates outside of her hardwiring in her lane of femininity? Well, when a woman operates in masculinity, it's kind of a repellent for men. When a woman operates in femininity, they appear to men as a man. And if you're a heterosexual male, you're not necessarily trying to get with another guy per se, right? You're not doing that. So they may look, I think there's a level of operating in masculinity that a woman can do that completely turns off a man. So it's almost as if there's nothing about her apart from her looks. And even then, if the masculinity is of such, it's like, you act like a dude, you talk like a dude, you might as well dress like a dude, because I don't really want to deal with that. They might try to smash or whatever, but even that is kind of like, I don't know, because you crazy. That's kind of how men kind of articulate that, she crazy. But when a woman does that, when a woman operates in her masculinity, things begin to get difficult for her. Remember, her superpower is her femininity. We've been hearing about women, the whole boss bee, I'm strong, I'm independent, I don't need no man. But those very same people always talk about how hard life is and how they had to struggle and how they had to do it on their own. Why? Because you've been operating in a lane that's not yours. You've been operating as a man. And yes, it's going to be difficult. Why? Because you weren't designed to operate through life or walk through life or deal with situations as a man. You weren't designed to try to tap into any type of masculinity because you weren't made to be masculine. You were made to be feminine. I remember hearing conversations with some guys, and I was just kind of over listening to them while they were talking. And one guy said he was talking about this particular woman at his job that he liked. Now, this is an office situation, right? And he said, man, she looks good. It was two different ones. One, oh man, she looks good. And she just come in smelling so nice, and she's so soft-spoken. And, you got to respect her now because, she carries herself that way. Like, she carries herself in a way of a full-grown woman. She's very feminine. And that's just attractive to me. And then they went over to another one and they say, yeah, she wears dresses and, she smells good, but her attitude, it's like a dude or whatever. And I said, and of course I said, well, how does she look? She looks nice. She got a nice body, but man, she act like a dude, man. So, and then she always talking about how guys ain't this and guys ain't that. And she's single, but the reason why is because she's acting like a guy. And most guys are not going to be attracted to themselves unless, again, they are not a heterosexual man. So I thought about that, and I was at the gym, and of course, at the gym, you see everything. So I'm looking around, and true enough, the thought came, and as I looked out, I said, there are some women, although they're all dressed in, you go to the gym, you might as well go to the club or the beach. They're dressed in these, very form-fitting workout clothes, and you're there to work out. You wear workout clothes, so no shade. But there are those who are just so feminine. It's like, wow, the way they walk, the way they carry themselves, even how they grab the equipment and begin to utilize it. But then there are some, it's like, wow, man, she acting like a dude. Wow, you're doing everything but throwing up for 350. You really, put them side by side without anybody saying anything. And it's something about femininity. A woman who walks in their femininity, it just reeks. It just comes out of them. And it's something about a woman who walks in their masculinity. It's almost as though their countenance betrays the fact that they're a woman. Because it's like, oh, I'm strong, and it's like most dudes, they're not going to even gravitate towards that. Now, I always talk about Brazil. Let's curve things, not just talk about Brazil. Let's just talk about being raised. In a traditional Latina or Latino household, women are raised to be feminine, right? Men are raised to be masculine. Now, sometimes one can go overboard one way or the other, the machismo, and sometimes they can get a little extra. But it doesn't discount the fact that that's kind of how that culture works. Here in this country, in America, it seems as if roles have incrementally, for quite some time, been reversing. Men have been being pulled away from their masculinity and told or taught, oh, you need to be more emotionally available, or you need to tap into your feelings, or you need to be able to understand the woman and how she feels. And listen, I get it. As as a man, you can have emotional intelligence. You can be able to understand someone of the opposite sex. But I think it works or it operates the way it's supposed to if it's structured within the guidelines of your logic or your masculinity. Now, women in this country, they're taught, oh, you work on your career, you're strong, you're independent, you don't necessarily need a man, you can do everything by yourself. And then when you get to the point where you do need a man, then that's the point where you can get married. But they don't tell them that they don't control that. So a woman gets to the point where she almost takes on the aura of a man. You know, you see these women like they're beautiful or whatever, and it's like, but you act like a guy. You sound like a guy. Your attitude comes across as a guy. And again, something Kevin Samuels used to always say, with guys, there's always a low-level threat of violence. So with guys, we don't tiptoe or walk on eggshells around other guys, but there's a certain level of respect. Why? Because we understand that if things go left, and it can, if disrespect enters the building, then somebody's gonna have to be willing to go the distance. And so as a result, men think, oh, you know what? I better not say that. Oh, I see how they act. No, I'm gonna go this way because I already know what happens if I get disrespected. And so I was thinking about that. And there was this comedian, I forget what his name is, and he was always talking about being attracted to studs. I think he did a whole lot of skits on his Instagram page. And what's interesting is, you know how they'll have, like, if somebody's in their lifestyle, they'll have them dressed up like a dude with a baseball cap turned backwards, you know, heavy, like big clothes or whatever. And then they turn and they snap, and all of a sudden they're in After 5. And it's almost like, wow, man, this person, like I could, like I would, if I saw you out and I was a single guy, I might say something to you. But then when they put them back on the boy clothes, it's like, that aura. Now some guys, they just thirsty. They'll try to cling on to any aspect of femininity that they can see and try to use that to overcompensate in order to smash or whatever. But most guys who got their stuff together, who are operating in their masculinity, who are operating in logic, in how they were hardwired to operate in, they don't necessarily, they're not going to put themselves in that situation. And most women who are operating in their superpower, femininity, they realize, those who understand that that's a superpower, that they have the power of influence. You ever notice that a lot of these guys that's really got bread, the women that they're with are so feminine. Why? It's something about that femininity that just draws a masculine man to you. It'll put you on your knees, and you know, it really will get you there and make you say, listen, I want you to be my wife. I want you to be the mother of my children. I see a wife in you because of that femininity, because of you're operating in it. But when you have a beautiful face and you open your mouth and come out, it's like, nah, I ain't bothering with you. So in any event, short and sweet, men operate in how you and where you were hardwired, masculinity and logic. You'll go far. Things will be a lot easier if you weren't, other than you operating in femininity, which you do that. And if you operate in your superpower, femininity, and feeling, then you will get a whole lot further than trying to operate in something that you were not designed to operate in. So that's kind of what I wanted to share. Hope that it makes any sense. Hopes it makes some sense. I was just thinking about it, doing some stuff. I still have errands to run, but I wanted to stop and share that before I forget. In any event, fala com você mais tarde. Até a breve. Ciao.